Peace to everyone. Thank you so much for coming out this Friday afternoon. My name is Shanil Zaman, and I'm the manager of Cordobahouse, the event main organizers. Cordobahouse, just to tell you a little bit about this particular institution, is an institution of the Muslim Association of Canada. It derives its name from the great Muslim civilization that flourished in southern Spain. The purpose of Cordobahouse is to foster dialogue, facilitate understanding, and promote research on Islam and Muslims in Canada, and the role that faith plays in public life. One of the projects of Cordobahouse is actually the Cordoba Dialogues, which is a lecture series that brings world-renowned scholars of high integrity and competence to the McMaster and the Hamilton community. And today you're actually witnessing the official launch of this particular lecture series with a lecture by the most admirable Dr. Monia Mazigh. So without further ado, I'm actually going to invite Dr. Yasser Hadara up to the stand to tell you a little bit more about the Muslim Association of Canada and Cordobahouse. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be with all of you. Just a couple of, I don't have much to add to what Shamila said, just a couple of remarks. And thank you to Dr. Monia for being with us today, and thank you for all of you for coming out today. The Muslim Association of Canada is a grassroots organization that serves the Muslim community and has a vision of engaging the Muslim community, has a vision of creating a Muslim presence that is constructive, that makes a contribution to our society and to humanity at large. And one of the areas in which we feel this contribution is most needed is the intellectual arena. Unfortunately, I think many times when we speak of communities of faith, we do not emphasize enough the intellectual contribution that needs to be made, and specifically on the role that faith plays in public life in a society, a pluralistic society like that in which we live. And for us, the issue of Islam and Muslims outside the traditional Muslim lands, if you will, Islam and Muslims in the West, Islam and Muslims in Canada in particular, is an issue that deserves much exploration. So our theme is dialogue, research, and understanding. And these dialogues are meant to engage people in thinking about these issues and exploring these issues. I'm very grateful to our partners in organizing this event and hopefully future events, the Department of Religious Studies, the McMaster University Libraries, the Institute on Globalization and Human Condition, and two student clubs, McMaster Muslims for Peace and Justice and McMaster Muslim Student Association, that have consistently been at the forefront of activities and events like this. So with that, thank you very much for being with us, and I hope, I know that we will all enjoy the talk and benefit from the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lara. So just a little bit about Dr. Monia Mazigh. Dr. Monia Mazigh was born and raised in Tunisia and immigrated to Canada in 1991. She speaks Arabic, French, and English fluently and holds a PhD in finance from McGill University. Dr. Mazigh has worked at the University of Ottawa and taught at Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops, British Columbia. In 2004, she ran in the federal election as a candidate for the NDP, gaining the most votes for her riding in the history of the NDP. Dr. Mazigh was catapulted onto the public stage in 2002 when her husband, Maher Arar, was deported to Syria, where he was tortured and held without charge for over a year. During that time, Dr. Mazigh campaigned vigorously for her husband's release and later fought to re-establish his reputation and sought reparations. In January 2007, after a lengthy inquiry, her husband finally received an apology from the Canadian government and was offered compensation for the terrible ordeal his family suffered. Dr. Mazigh has since authored a new book called Hope and Despair, which documents her ordeal after her husband was arrested and how she campaigned to clear his name. She presently lives in Ottawa with her husband and two children. Without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Monia Mazigh to the podium to share a few words with us on identity and citizenship. Her lecture will be followed by a brief question and answer period, as well as a book signing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation and for the introduction. And for, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the organizers for inviting me here to Hamilton and for giving me this opportunity to speak to you, but also to dialogue with you after I finish the presentation. Just to start with, usually we start with an anecdote, and this is the first time I am here in Hamilton. 2 years ago, as I was running actually with one of my previous colleagues, the NDP, she's a triathlon athlete, and I run half marathon, so I'm not at that stage. And she was telling me about a run in Hamilton, 30K. So I was planning to come to Hamilton to run the 30K, but instead I think I found myself here. And I think, anyway, it's everything is good to justify my presence. So maybe another time I hope I will be able to come and run the 30K. It's more scary than giving a presentation, I guess. I was asked to speak about faith, identity, and citizenship, which I will, it's a very, very difficult topic because we live in a society where, religious signs or faith or spiritualities, in a way, kept aside from the public life. And so I'm not intending at all to enter into that debate. I think maybe you can ask a question later on. But what I decided actually to speak about is I would start off, maybe talking about what happened to me, to my family, my husband, and then move on and also share with you some of my reflection on the world after 9/11 and the consequences of that, of what happened, the consequences that affected all Canadians, but in particular, for instance, my family, but put aside my personal experience, I think all what the consequences that happened to other groups, and specifically the Muslim group here in Canada. I came to Canada about 18 years ago, and I knew at that time I was coming to a country where people were free and where each person's rights were respected. Over the past 7 years, however, I learned how just precious and how fragile at the same time those rights and those freedoms truly could be for all of us. Some of you, know me from the public struggle I led first to win my husband's freedom and bring him home to his children, and second, to pressure the Canadian government to conduct an inquiry into his arrest and deportation. Those were very difficult years for me, and they were definitely worse for my husband. Fortunately, our efforts did not go in vain, since we were able to achieve a lot, both for our family, I think, but also for the Canadian society at large. I was born and raised in Tunisia, a North African country, and I learned at a very early age what state repression could mean. The past 7 years, I learned that each one of us must take responsibility for the protection of these rights, which unfortunately most of us take for granted. I don't think we can leave it to others. We can leave it to others to do things for us. I realized that I could not allow my husband's fate or my own fate to be decided by others. I could not accept the way he was treated, and I could not be satisfied with partial answers or half measures. My husband, Maher Arar, is a Syrian-born Canadian. He moved to Canada with his parents about 20 years ago. He went to university and studied hard, and he was able to finish his degrees in communication as an engineer. In September 2002, we were in Tunisia vacationing with our 2 small children.